Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jordan Tremaine with another book review. Today, reading a little bit of an information book, but it did have stories and anecdotes, so there were some stories. I'm not sure, let me see. And there's some pictures too, so plus points for that. But I thought this book was interesting, had some interesting perspectives, and we're gonna dive into it in a second. So if you haven't already, if you watch these reviews, subscribe. If you like a book or you've read it, you have comments, you have recommendations for other books, I think a lot of times people that read a certain book would be interested in another book. And I don't know about this book unless somebody recommends it. So recommend books. Tell me what you think about books. Comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff because it's great. It helps community, talking to each other, connecting, good stuff. So yeah. But the book today that we're going to talk about is To Sell is Human: The Surprising Truth About Moving Others by Daniel H. Pink. Apparently this is a #1 New York Times bestseller. I still don't really know what that means, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's great. So it's an interesting book. I think it goes through a lot of examples of different things, but I think at a high level, what To Sell is Human is trying to explain is that sales is not something that salesmen do. It's a way of acting in the modern world where Pink, the author, makes this idea inside of the book or looks at this perspective of selling where, yes, salesmen do sell. I know I just said they didn't, but yes, salesmen do sell things, but they're not the only ones, because selling is convincing people to give up resources in exchange for something else. And a lot of times we think of selling as that resource being money for products, but it could be attention, like with YouTube right now. I'm selling you this content and you're giving me your attention. We're trading. And maybe you're subscribing, But you could be trading a lot of things. It'd be attention, focus, time, influence, money. It could be a lot of things, but selling is about convincing people to part with their resources. And when he talks about this, he uses this term called moving people, like the subtext said, the surprising truth about moving others, where selling is about moving people to part with their resources. It's about helping to persuade or convince them to give up their resources, which is not always money. And looking at selling from this perspective, Pink argues that everybody is a salesperson, not just the people selling used cars and insurance and stuff like that, but the teachers in the classrooms. They're selling this education and they're trying to get students to part with their attention, with their time, with their focus, to struggle on homework and to learn and to listen and things like that. When you are at the office, you are selling your ideas to your coworkers and your boss. You are making presentations and you are seeking to move people in order to part with something. And it could be a decision they're making. It could be time that they have to spend or a budget they have to allocate. But we're all selling something to someone else. And when we look at it this way, it's important to learn how to be a good salesman. And that's what this book is about. Whether or not you're a classic salesperson, this is an interesting book on persuading people and looking at it in terms of selling and how you do that. One of the things I think is really good about this book that Pink writes is, from my perspective at least, it's pretty ethical. He talks a lot about sales tactics that are what he would call not as ethical or manipulative, or about keeping secrets or pressuring people. And he kind of carte blanche in every case, maybe carte blanche isn't the right word, but overall is like, don't pressure people. Don't try to trick people. Don't try to force people. And he's like, help people. Here's some techniques on how to help people give you a chance to show them why it's a good idea for you guys to make a trade. And it's not always a good idea. One of the things he says is like, hey, if you do the math or you run the explanation and stuff and it doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. Just move on to the next person. That's also a sales technique, because if you make a good relationship with somebody, like you build rapport, you talk to them, and it doesn't work out, they still might recommend other people, or maybe later down the line, when they do need that service or whatever, they can come back to you. And I think this book is a lot about communication and building bridges and being honest and giving information, but at the same time, doing it in a way that's helpful, that's compelling. There's kind of that idea when the scientist gets up on TV and tells everybody that there's a catastrophe or a natural disaster coming. They don't have good sales skills, and so nobody cares. They don't understand why. They just show this chart or this graph, and they're meh, 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 and nobody can understand. But sometimes using certain techniques, like rather than showing a bunch of information that nobody studied for 100 years, show a picture or show a video, make it personal. Try and get the information across in a way that other people care about, and really inform them on what's important to them, so that you guys can meet in a place where you're both caring about something. I think this book gives a lot of techniques and stories and anecdotes along that line. So I think the book was worth reading. It was easy to read. It gave some statistics. It showed some anecdotes of, maybe you shouldn't try this, or maybe this is not the best way, and some anecdotes of, I think this is a better way. So some compare and contrast between different methods, and I got something out of it. I think you would get something out of it. The idea is that everybody is a salesman, so this isn't a book just for people who are in hardcore sales, making cold calls, knocking on doors, and selling vacuums and toothbrushes and stuff like that. It's for anybody who needs to convince other people to do things in their daily life. And that includes people working in offices, because they need to convince other people on their projects and stuff. Like parents. Parents need to convince their kids or sell ideas to their kids. Like, hey, you need to eat your broccoli. You need to go to sleep on time. You need to brush your teeth. I need to sell you that idea, and you need to buy it. You need to agree to do it. You need to buy in. And looking at it from that perspective, I think even just being aware of certain techniques or certain ideas or certain perspectives and help you go a long way in making deals. So this has been Jordan Tremaine, that's me, with another book review. This book by Daniel H. Pink, To Sell is Human, The Surprising Truth About Moving Others. It's not that long. Let me see. 200 pages. A lot of the books I've been reading are 200 pages. That seems kind of like the sweet spot for books these days. But To Sell is Human, I think it was a good read. Not difficult. You read this in a week or over a weekend if you got some time. It's not really a brain buster, but I thought it was good. So I will see you guys later, and I hope that whatever you're reading, it's something that's interesting.